few trends, because that's what I do, actually. I worked and I understand trends. But let me tell you first a little story. And I know there's a lot of hoteliers here, so you will actually probably get it. I was in Manila. This is a big hotel in Manila, a gambling hotel. And I was not expected there. I had a room, obviously, but we didn't take a car from the hotel. I just went with a cab. I arrived at the hotel. The guy opens me the door and says, "Hello, Mr. Papadimitriou." And like for a second, I'm like, how the hell does he know my name? And then I go out of the car. The person who takes my luggage says, "Hello, Mr. Papadimitriou." I'm like, what the hell? Okay, fine. I mean, I was starting to feel like James Bond, right? It was awesome. I go in Asia, you have all the hotels have, are like airport security. You have to go through airport security. The security guys and says, "Welcome, Mr. Papadimitriou." I'm like, how the hell do they know my name, right? Then I walk, the customer service manager gets me to the elevator. I arrive at the elevator. They have, because it's a very fancy hotel, they have a lift operator, someone who actually presses a button for you. And he says, "Floor number 9, I presume, Mr. Papadimitriou." I'm like, how the hell did he know all that? This is an experience. This was probably not the right experience for me, because they probably thought because I have a Swiss passport that I'm very rich and I'm going to be a gambler, I'm going to lose all my money in the casino, which of course didn't happen. But this is an experience. I was reminded of this experience. This is what I do as a job, not only an MC. We create experiences for others, for brands, for tons of brands, including travel, a lot actually in air travel. And for me, it's basically about this. How it makes you feel. The reason you remember an experience, the reason you remember a destination, you remember a country, you remember a hotel is because you had an experience. And the myth is a story that goes around it. This is what I do, branding. And the tools, which is the technology, is how did they do that to make me feel that? Which was obviously clearly, they had found my profile somewhere on LinkedIn, on Facebook, they had actually had facial recognition programs, and they were talking to each other and telling, "This is Mr. Papadimitriou," and they obviously had to train how to say my last name, because in the Philippines it's not that easy. But this is the kind of job I do. And today, to start this conference, I want to tell you a little bit, because I travel a lot, a little bit of the trends, the mega trends that are affecting your industry with all industries in travel. Because this is the reason, this is how I create these experiences when I work with large brands. So my name, Papadimitriou, obviously I'm Greek. My father was Greek. My mother was from Finland, but the height actually comes from the Greek part. That's how it is. My great-grandfather, at the turn of the century, was 2 meters tall. He was Greek and 2 meters tall. Yeah, so I'm not there yet, actually. I need to eat more soup. I was born and raised in Switzerland, so I have 3 passports. That's the official story. The unofficial story is that the 3 passports are locked in a safe in Zurich, and my real name is actually Jason Bourne. This is what I do. These are a little bit of the clients I work with. Like you can see a lot of travel clients included there, creating experiences, understanding why people travel, why they do what they do, and this is what I do. So now, I travel around the world. I'm very lucky. I'm very bad for the carbon footprint. You know, the Greta generation doesn't like me. But I'm able to see and make differentiations about how the countries are behaving. And I'm always looking for mega trends. How are people behaving? And this is a little bit what we're going to hear today. Some of the speakers will tell us about these trends, about what you should be paying attention to. What I think you should be paying attention to is that sentence that I keep saying. We're the last generation to have seen the planet not busy. In other words, over-tourism. We always think there's too many people. And it's true. I was in Vietnam last month, and Vietnam now is not what it used to be. There's people everywhere. It's happening everywhere. Are we really the last generation to have not seen the world busy? We'll see that through the next 10 minutes. But this is clearly a big question. First of all, the reason, obviously, is that you have 2.5 billion people that are becoming middle class. So they can travel, and they will. Obviously, a lot of them are in China, in India, in emerging countries. They travel. 1 billion of them, and that's very important, 1 billion of them are actually women. And a lot of the stuff in travel are not made for women. You can take a flight, and I've done a lot, and you're in business class, like I'm very lucky to be most of the time. And when I sit down and I have like ripped jeans and a t-shirt, nobody asks me anything. And if it's a woman, I can see the flight attendant coming, "Can I see your boarding pass?" Because we're not used yet to have a lot of women being independent. But this is happening. For instance, I was working with a very large brand for hotel booking. You can guess which one it is. And I was telling them, why is it that it's not possible for women to know, is there like a safe floor for women, for instance? You look, lots of women travel alone now. So this is a very big shift. So this is a planet that goes for everyone. Everyone can travel. Everywhere. I just mentioned it. Most of the people, you can see it in Greece as well, most of the people that are traveling are very different from the people that used to travel. We see a lot of Asian, obviously. A lot of new countries are starting to travel, and suddenly we're not used to how do we deal with them? What is an experience for them? How do they behave when they come to my hotel, to my country, to my destination? We don't know yet. We need to adapt. The age shift is also, we are getting older in our countries. In the West, we are getting older. You can see, I used to live in Japan myself. You can see that the hospitality industry, for instance, in Japan is changing very rapidly to understand the needs of people that have slower mobility, bigger bathrooms, etc., people with lack of accessibility. This is happening very, very fast. And China, by the way, China, because they had a one-child policy for a very long time, is actually getting much older, much faster than we think. They will reach this threshold much faster. The rest of Asia is very young still. The world is very young, but China will actually get older and will seek experiences that are catered to an older generation. And then the superlinear planet. Most of the people will live in cities. More and more people live in cities. You know, some number says 5 billion people are living in cities. This will actually increase because this is where ideas happen. This is where work is. This is why you move to Athens. It's because you have opportunities. You can meet each other. And this is how it creates. You know, the superlinear, the word you can see there, is basically the idea when there's a flu. You know, if there's a flu, someone who has the flu here, maybe by tonight, 5 other people have the flu because you're next to each other. The same thing happens with ideas. When you are next to each other, and this is why we do such a conference today, you talk to each other, have you seen that? Have you heard that? And then suddenly the ideas go much faster. And this is why we move to cities. But it also means that the travelers that are coming to Greece and traveling in general are more and more coming for cities. And they have expectations that are different from the previous generations of travelers. The last number here, the 17 trillion, this is official numbers. There are studies by UBS, Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley. Basically, the old generation, people like us, are in the process of dying, sadly. And what we're going to do, we're going to actually give the money we made to our kids. So suddenly our kids will have much more spending power with a new ability to think about how they want to travel. And again, we're not ready for this. So this is also happening very fast in Asia, and that's why you're seeing a different kind of traveler coming. 17 trillion, it's a lot of money. And suddenly, they will want to come to Greece, and they have different sets of expectations. So what is a superlinear traveler? What kind of traveler are we seeing? And I have seen all over the world when I'm traveling. First of all, of course, he's always faster, and she's always faster. It doesn't matter if he's a millennial, if she's a boomer. These things actually are not really important. People are faster. They have mobile phones with them all the time. They can get information at all times what they want. Now you have global roaming. They don't even need, of course, access to Wi-Fi and less. They have this. And we are seeing the world going faster and faster. The world was never as slow as today. It will always come and become faster, no matter what. And your clientele, the people that you actually welcome in Greece, welcome in your hotel, welcome in your tourist attractions, will have this ability. You already see them. They're already in freaking phones all the time. That's the first thing. The second thing, and that's very, very important, the normalized thing. You know, the first time you use something like a car hailing app, so you can press a button and you have the cab coming. It's a discovery. You're like, oh, this is really cool. The second time you get used to it, and then you don't even think about it. The first time you had a mobile phone, it was amazing, and then now it's just a commodity. You have it in your pocket. That's the thing with experiences as well. More and more people get used, because they travel more and more, they get used to experiences. They expect the experience to be better and better and better, and that's a race. It's hard to cope sometimes. But these people are more traveled, we are becoming more traveled, and they are normalizing everything. So for them, what used to be 20 years ago amazing, now it's totally normal, and they're seeking the next thing. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge for all the countries I visit. I work with other organizations in the world that work in travel, and they're like, we don't know what to do to satisfy our customer. You guys have in Greece a lot of the elements, like Yanis just told you earlier, to actually make this happen, but you need to transform to actually make these surface for this type of traveler. Another, of course, very clear trend that I actually hinted at already is that the traveler is self-reliant. Because they have access to a supercomputer in their pockets, they do travel very differently. They do not pre-plan. More and more people decide to go to travel now. They press a button, they get a hotel, they get a cab, they get everything on the spot. And so they need to have the all the information they want. If they don't have the information, they will not seek you. They will not find you. They will not seek that experience that you're trying to tell them about. Basically, if you want to think about it, an experience is, most people think about an experience like, oh, I'm going to do a tour of that tourist attraction. No, the entire city, the entire region, the entire Greece must be an experience. I must be able to say, I'm going to do this today because I can find right now the information. I'm being pushed at the right time all the time. People are self-reliant. Travelers are more self-reliant. And the last one, and that's most important for me, is there's a change of values. People buy into things. They don't buy things. The reason people come to Greece is, of course, the beaches are the nice weather, etc., but they buy into the idea of Greece. People buy into, when you buy a car, now people buy into the idea of the car. They don't only buy the car. It's not just a utilitarian vehicle. They buy into brands. They buy into things. The reason I put Japan in the background there, when I used to live in Japan, there were basically 2 million tourists a year. They're reaching 38 million this year, I think, or something like that. It's because people, when they go to Japan, they have the idea of what Japan must be. They buy into the idea of, it's polite, its kind of food is great. And when they get there, it's actually true. And they fall in love with it. So they not only the idea of what a country, a destination should be, is actually in line with the experience they're having there. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm saying it's one of the reasons how people choose their destinations nowadays. If that thing would actually go forward, here you go. So are we the last generation to have seen the planet not busy? Probably yes, but, and again, Yanis hinted at it earlier today, we're living in a very strange place now. We have the trade wars going on, Brexit, I live in London, I know about it. I don't know if in 2 weeks I don't know what I'm going to do, by the way. There's maybe a recession or a slowdown, and I know you don't like that word, but Greta. And I work with air travel. Germany is going to implement next year a carbon tax on flights. France is going to implement probably next year a carbon tax on flights. The UK wants to ban frequent flyers programs from airlines, saying these encourage people to travel more. It's going to happen. Flights at 10 euros that we see in Europe and the rest of the world will not happen anymore in the next 20 years. We'll have more taxes on flights, and that could mean that less people can travel. Because if suddenly you have, instead of paying 20 euros to come to Greece with a low cost from the UK, you need to pay 300, that changes the game. But it will happen. No matter what we want, it will happen. There will be these carbon tax. The values of the people, they buy into things, has changed. And I know we'll hear about it a little bit today. So that traveler adapts, seeks, finds, and cares. And you need to actually adapt to that. He's always faster, he normalizes, he's self-reliant, he buys into things, and he will and she will always find a way. And basically that way needs to be Greece, obviously, for you. So how do you make Greece a superlinear culture? What I mean by culture, you'll understand in a minute, but it is what you stand for. Again, something we mentioned with Yanis earlier. What is Greece? People need to understand what is Greece. I do inherently, because I was born from a Greek father, I speak Greek, and I understand what is my Greece. People have to understand what the country stands for. And for me, the best definition of culture is like a definition of culture for a company, is the following. If it comes here. Culture is what you do when no one is looking. Meaning that it's too easy sometimes to proclaim what we are, proclaim what Greece should be, where your company should be, where your hotel should be. It is what you do when people are not looking. This is how people feel. I started by telling you how an experience makes you feel. Well, when people actually visit and travel, they remember how they felt. They don't remember what they did. They remember how they felt. And this is, when you ask your questions about what you stand for, you need to change the culture in a way that makes people feel. And they feel great already. This is why Greece is so successful. This is why people want to come to Greece over and over and over. But this is the work you need to keep doing. And again, as Yanis hinted earlier, you're in a good place now to actually make that happen. Because you've been successful at attracting so many people to come here. What you stand for, culture, is what you do when no one is looking. So you really need to think about what drives Greece, what is the myth of Greece, what is the fire that burns within all of you guys to work together to make that Greece the Greece that everybody wants to come to differentiate. It's more than differentiation, it's to be distinct. What is Greece? Why should I choose Greece over Italy, over Spain? You know, I'm very lucky. I travel all around the world. There are many great places in the world. Of course I will come to Greece because, again, I have a Greek background. But why would I opt for Greece? Not only, again, for the beaches and the sun, but are there other reasons? There are so many reasons that we should come to Greece. The passion and the fear. Greece have passion. The one thing that you have to be honest about is it's okay to be afraid, and it's okay to tell the people that come to Greece that sometimes you're afraid and you F up some things. It's okay. You don't need to always be polished. People like it when you're not fully in power. You have to embrace your fears. The past and the future. Most people know Greece because of its past culture. This is why Greece is so well known. But there's so much stuff happening today that we need to know, and people don't. Even me, I don't know. Everything from new artists, from fashion, a lot of stuff happens nowadays and needs to be known. And this, you need to also embrace it. Countries that win today are countries that are not only embracing the past, but embracing their future. And in the similar vein, the seen and the unseen. Again, stuff, a lot of people know about the stuff that you're already known for in this country, in our country, but the unseen is what needs to be said. There's so much stuff around that I don't know, and every time I come to Greece, I discover new things. These can grow, and these can make an even more successful Greece. So 3 things. First, embrace that discomfort. It's okay. Don't be too, and I'm not saying you are, but I see too many countries, too many destinations trying to be too much, to say, no, we're the best. This is what we are. Be a little bit with discomfort. It's okay. And as your own business owners as well, it's okay. You are human, you can fail, and people will appreciate if you actually say that. Be vulnerable about it. It's okay to say it. It's okay to say we're not perfect, and people will love you for that. And embrace courage. That takes courage. And again, that comes back to what Yanis told you earlier. It's the time to be a bit courageous now, to say, how can we transform the fact that we became so successful into even more success? It requires a bit of courage to say, let's give it all, let's try. Maybe we'll fail on some little details, but we can actually make it. This is what you need to do, to embrace courage. Hero. Hero, of course, is a Greek word. You know, Leandros, the story. You know, a hero is someone who shows the light. As he did. He was showing the light to Leandros, as you all know from the Greek mythology. Well, you have to be your hero. If you are the hero, people will follow you. Travelers will come to Greece. So be your hero. And on that, thank you very much for your attention.